All right, hey, good evening, folks. Once again, we are back. We are not taking a look at the tropics tonight. We are actually looking at a potential winter storm here for the eastern U.S. Figured I'd run a quick video on it just to kind of give everybody the latest update. I know it's kind of becoming a big deal down there in Florida, or across there is where I am, to Florida being, anyway. Normally we only roll these videos during, some exceptional weather events, and this isn't the worst one ever, but I figured it was worth a quick video on this evening. I owed y'all a little more in detail of what's going on. So again, tonight is December 14th, 2023, and we are tracking a potential winter storm for the Florida Peninsula and up to the East Coast throughout the weekend. So what we have in a broad setup here tonight is a big, cool, not cold, high pressure system dominating much of the eastern U.S. Clockwise motion. You can see the cloud streets moving off the East Coast. That's a signal of cooler air over warmer ocean water moving down. And this has created a very sharp frontal boundary down here across southern Florida. There's a difference in the high pressure here and then the high pressure down here. So we have two different cells competing, and between them we have a tropical air mass and then a continental air mass, which is a difference in not only temperature of the air, but the humidity of the air. The air to the north is much drier, and the air to the south here is much more, well, tropical because it's over the water. Along them you have the boundary, and then we have a trough coming in across the four corners and going into the plains. You can see it swirling through here, and this energy is going to kick off a secondary area of low pressure in the Gulf of Mexico. This is going to be a non-tropical low, as we would call it, or kind of a winter type low pressure. It's not formed as a typical tropical storm or hurricane would form. This is being formed off of a weather feature, not off of warm ocean water. But this low pressure will be using some of the warm-ish water in the Gulf of Mexico, along with processes, natural weather processes from the jet stream and energy from the subtropical jet streaming in here across from the Pacific. All this is going to come together to create a storm system that is going to intensify as it moves over Florida and up the U.S. Eastern coastline throughout the weekend into next week. So, show you how this roughly looks over the next couple of days. We're starting off tomorrow morning early on. GFS model here, again, our big high centered over the Tennessee Valley, our boundary down here, and then our low pressure beginning to take shape over the western Gulf of Mexico. We have to understand, as we are in Florida right now, you guys have already had about 24 to 36 hours of strong easterly winds. Those are the clouds you can see back on the satellite, all these winds coming down and across Florida. It's already been very gusty. It's been overcast. It's been off and on with rain. So these conditions are already set in, and on the computer model, you can see this in kind of the mid-levels. You can see the high pressure pushing those easterly winds over the Florida Peninsula. This is only going to intensify because as this low pressure gets spun up, you have a bigger difference in the high pressure to the north, low pressure to the south. You have a difference in pressure between these, and you have stronger winds racing between these highs as everything kind of squeezes together as the low sort of approaches the coast. So we'll go ahead and step this through Friday. You can see the low begins to really take shape into Saturday, and we can also see what's causing this is our parent low and our strong trough moving in from the Arklatex sort of region, coming out of the plains. This weather system is digging down, and it's causing this low pressure to spin up in response. You have divergence aloft, which is up in the atmosphere over a stationary boundary, one of your core principles in meteorology. So this low pressure in this winter type low pressure system is what's causing this low to kick off. So again, not forming like a traditional tropical storm or hurricane. It will have some kind of feel like one, but it'll be much colder, obviously, and it's not really a tropical storm, but different processes, but kind of quacks and walks like a duck all the same. But anyway, this low pressure is going to be spinning up over the Gulf of Mexico, and as you can see, Saturday into Sunday, this is going to move in somewhere around the Big Bend of Florida, or possibly even more towards Tallahassee, where the center is. But you can see this is a big, wide low pressure system, and unlike a tropical storm or a hurricane, which would kind of have an eye where heavier wind would be expected, this is a big, broad mess of a storm. So you're going to have impacts ranging far away from the event. You also have, again, a big transition of warm and cold air. You have all this tropical moisture surging out of the south. You have strong wind shear, and you get the potential for a good amount of impacts. So This low is going to move up through Sunday, and by Monday it will be clearing Florida. But as you can see, this wraps up into a big winter storm system for the eastern U.S. Not a lot of snow with this because we have such an anomalously cool to warm sort of, or anomalously warm rather, air mass in place. Not much snow expected up there, but big winds and big rain coming up throughout the eastern U.S. But we're going to focus more on Florida for the rest of the video. Go ahead and go to the Weather Prediction Center again, showing you on their frontal systems how this is going to work out. We go into Friday night into Saturday again, onshore winds and gusty winds and some kind of rain into Florida, heaviest down there in the Keys and Miami through Friday. But then on Saturday, that low begins to approach, and you can see by Saturday afternoon, which is what this map is showing, a lot more rain coming in as all that tropical moisture surges out ahead of that low pressure. Again, the low is still offshore of Tampa, but all that wind and rain coming out ahead of it is what's going to start pushing onto the Florida Peninsula. We can also see this on the NAMNES high resolution model. We can see here, we're going to go back to Friday afternoon. You can see the onshore winds and onshore rain showers coming in from the east on Friday because the high is still in control and your low is still developing back over the Gulf. But as we go into Saturday morning, we have the heavier rain begins to approach. And by Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, not only is most of the state engulfed in some kind of rainfall, but you've got these bands, these onshore bands of heavier rain. This is where you could see potential for thunderstorms and potential for heavy rainfall as these heavier bands move ashore. So it won't be a washout 24/7. It's going to be overcast and windy the whole time, but you're going to have these pockets and almost bands of heavier rain, kind of like a tropical storm again, but not really exactly the same. But this is where we're concerned about potential for thunderstorms and potential for tornadoes, possibly. The Storm Prediction Center is got a marginal risk, a 1 out of 5 on their categorical scale. Again, dark green being the first category where severe storms are possible. And the threat here is not so much big hail and thunderstorms and lightning and stuff. It's so much more for tornadoes. There is a nocturnal tornado potential, as they talk about in their discussion, a high shear, low cape setup. And what that means is there's going to be a hefty amount of wind shear with this storm. If I back it up to, we'll just pick, while the low is moving in here, we'll pick a spot in northern Florida, show you the potential for curved hodographs up here. And this is some meteorology stuff, but what we're basically seeing with this skew-T plot is a lot of wind shear in the column. There's a lot of change in direction and speed of your winds, and that can help generate thunderstorms and potentially tornadoes if the setup is right. And given a bulk shear in 448 range, that is definitely going to be able to produce some tornadoes, even if your cape, which is your overall instability, is very low. 2 to 300 kilojoules is nothing. I mean, you could typically see 4, 5, 6,000, if you're out in Oklahoma in the spring or something. So 2 to 300 is very, very meager. But when you have extreme wind shear profiles, sometimes that overcomes it. So the thunderstorms we would be expecting are not going to be big, booming, hail and what, It's going to be more of gusty winds, and the potential for some brief tornadoes are possible. And these can be kind of hard to detect and move in pretty fast. So something to keep in mind. And the Storm Prediction Center is going to monitor the latest as those trends, move closer to the time. Show you some potential impacts as this moves through. This is your rainfall forecast through Monday morning, and widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain expected for much of the peninsula. But there are sections that are heavier. The big totals have come down in Miami and the Keys, but they've already had it for a couple of days. So, but there is some potential in here for more than what you're seeing. You're seeing generally, 2.85 in Jacksonville, 2.65 down towards Lauderdale, 3 point something in Miami, and over like towards 4 towards Tallahassee, Panama City, etc. But I want to stress that where the way this is going to set up, given that you have some convection, these bands of heavier rain could produce more than that. So, I mean, that's a good call. That's a good rule of thumb area wide. But 6 to 8 inches in a localized section, not impossible. Very well, someone's going to get 6, 8, 9, 10 inches of rain from this, and that's going to cause some flooding concerns. It's already been pretty wet down there this winter, and that could be an issue. Weather Prediction Center is forecasting a slight excessive rainfall risk, which is 2 out of 4 on their scale. So that's halfway up their scale. And I would very likely think that's going to come up to at least a moderate in some cases by the time this actually happens. So again, excessive rainfall, very possible. And the winds are going to be pretty rough. I mean, the coastal sections are going to see wind gusts in the 50s. They're not really stamped on this map except for, down towards, South Florida where some upper 50s are stamped there. But you can see most of the peninsula are going to see winds, and this is in miles per hour. So maximum wind gust potential is over 40 miles an hour. We've already had a couple. We've already had gusts into the 30s today across parts of Jacksonville and NIP and Mayport out towards Middleburg and around JIA, and those could go up even more. From what we've already seen today, as those winds intensify, those easterly winds pick up, and as that low approaches, you're going to have a stronger pressure gradient. You can see higher winds. So we are expecting some tropical storm force gusts. It's going to be downright nasty. And again, driving rain and whatnot. It's going to be a nasty weekend. So again, this is all going to clear out Sunday night into Monday morning, but the clear up is going to take most of Saturday and Sunday. This is going to be a slow process. And again, even when the low pressure is way out here, all that wind and rain coming out ahead of it is going to be pounding you guys, tomorrow afternoon, all day Saturday, most of the day Sunday. If you're going to the Jags game Sunday night, it's going to be pretty wet, pretty nasty. The rain may be slacking off by Sunday night, depending on what time the low wants to get out of here. Some of our high resolution models don't get that far, but this is early Sunday morning and the low is getting close to moving ashore. So you'd think maybe by late Sunday the rain may be trying to clear, but it's going to be soggy, it's going to be wet, it's going to be windy, it's going to be cool. Not going to be the best time at all there. And wind gusts again are going to be 45, 48, or so miles an hour at their peak. Won't be like that all the time, but they will be at times. So that's what I got for you guys on the latest update on the storm. Again, just not a good weekend to be out and about. I wouldn't be like, if you have to go somewhere, do what you got to do. It's not the end of the world, but I mean, bridges are going to be hairy. Travel's going to be difficult, and when we get into Saturday night and Sunday, potential for some heavy rainfall and some localized flooding is possible. So if you are on the roads, please be careful. And then again, there could be potential for tornado watches. So if you have one of those, make sure you got ways to get alerts. You got your weather radio, you got your phone on you, because they could be coming in fast. And again, we're not talking about monster EF4 and 5 tornadoes, but we are talking about quick, fast, and dark tornadoes. So not the best combination there. So just make sure you're prepared and you're taking any warnings you get seriously, because, again, things can change pretty fast. So that's what I got for you guys on this storm. Got any questions, guys, let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching and have a good one.